Look, Virtuoso, you can't provoke Coach Connors like that, Olympian said. I wasn't trying to provoke him. I just don't like the word punish. Olympian stopped her. Read my mind right now. My father is part of the old guard that fought in the war, like Connors. Where in my memories do you see him putting up with someone testing his authority? I wasn't testing his authority. You have to know he's going to make an example out of the first person who steps out of line. That's how they work. Who do you think you are? She said with an appalled look. I think I'm your teammate, and I'm trying to help you. You can't read his mind. It puts you at a disadvantage. No, it doesn't. I can get along with someone fine if I can't read their mind. Olympian might have a point. Bioforce spoke for the first time in this engagement. I mean, think about it. How many people are closed to you? You're used to knowing what someone's thinking, and you can't do that with him. That may be why you dealt with him badly. Fine, I'll look in your heads before I speak next time. Till then, keep picking on me and I'll start spilling embarrassing things you don't want others to know. Virtuoso went back to her room and closed the door. That went well, Bioforce said. You heard Connors. One of us gets into trouble, we all suffer. If she gets mad at me for speaking my mind, she's going to be mad a lot. Midas was the next to come out of his room and quick to notice something was not right. What's going on? We were just talking to Virtuoso about how she spoke to the coach, Olympian said. Images of what had transpired flooded Midas' head. He had everything that happened injected into his memory in an instant. Virtuoso just let me see and hear the whole conversation. She's still listening? Bioforce asked. This close to her, your thoughts are like a stereo turned all the way up. She can't help but hear. Then she knows how seriously I take my placement here. I expect my team members to take it as seriously as I do, Olympian said while not blinking. What does it matter how you take it? At this rate, you won't graduate from Alpha, Midas said, not blinking back. Olympian took a step forward, as if challenged. Why do you say that? Connor's first rule was no dating or fighting. You've tried to pick 2 fights and we haven't even seen our classrooms yet. She walked out of her room and looked at Olympian. Everyone knew she could have heard everything while talking to her parents. Olympian, the squirt's right. You need to turn it down a notch, or you'll burn out everyone around you. Who you calling a squirt? I'm your size and I'm only 11. I still got a lot of growing to do. How tall do you think you'll get? Midas said, standing as straight as he could. Midas' antics seemed to dull the edge of the room. Olympian knew she was right, but hated to admit he was wrong. He remembered the stories his brother Achilles told him, about how the lack of humility and hubris could topple the strongest opponent. Olympian couldn't believe he was flawed like that. How could he be too prideful to admit he was wrong? He wished he was back in the pit with all the hitters fighting him. Fighting was easy, he liked it, and it never felt awkward. Virtuoso walked from her room and straight to Olympian. She extended her hand in a handshake. Olympian looked at the hand and knew she gave him a way out. He was quick to shake her hand, like reaching for safety. Work on it, Virtuoso thought to Olympian. I will. Why is he being such a jerk today? Midas thought to Virtuoso. Before, we were just strangers. Now we're part of his team. He figures he needs to push everyone around him to be better, like us. Virtuoso thought only to Midas. Darkspeed's door opened and he blinked into the room. What's going on? First team was just working out some differences, she said. Oh, is it all sorted? Darkspeed said with a British accent like Coach Connors. Yeah, we're all good, Virtuoso said. Good. About the thing with Connors earlier. Darkspeed was interrupted. It's good too, Olympian said quickly. Well, that's good then. Is everyone all right with me taking the leadership role with how we plan our day? It's nice that you keep asking us, but we know that's what you're supposed to do. Start doing it, and we'll start learning our roles, she said. Good, then from now on I won't ask. But I want you to know I understand this will take some getting used to. Fair enough. Darkspeed moved to the central position in the room where he had all eyes on him. I think now would be a good time to share secret identities and talk about where we come from. After that, maybe lunch and explore the campus. Darkspeed looked around the room for objections, then continued. I'll go first. Ask questions if you got them. My name is Jacob John Ryan. Everyone calls me Jake. I grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah, with my adoptive parents. My parents had 5 kids of their own, all super, and 3 adopted kids, all super. The adoption was arranged by the HU, and I was placed with them when I was 3. I remember my mother a little, not much. I don't know the names or handles of who my parents were. My dad, my adopted dad, told me the HU arranges adoptions like that for fallen heroes. I've asked up and down about my real parents, and no one seems to know anything. On the bright side, my adoptive family is the best. Why don't you sleep? She asked. I don't have a concrete reason, but a guess. My powers make it like I'm permanently on. My speed is always there, and so are my super senses. Sometimes it's just hard to get to sleep, like I've always got caffeine in my system or something. You have super senses? Olympian asked. How do you think I see in the dark? My sight, hearing, and night vision are all up around 5, and I barely see the darkness I make. Have we heard of your parents? Bioforce asked. No, he's not a big superhero, just a local, but he's the best dad. Someone does, and when I'm an alpha graduate running the New York team, I'll get my answers. With some help, you might get them sooner, Virtuoso said with a smile. I'll go next. My name is Jillian Isabella Zavaleta. My home is in Sao Paulo, Brazil, with my mother and father. I'm an only child. Both my parents have powers but are not heroes. Well, my father used to be before I was born, and I don't know what his handle was. I paint, sculpt, draw, sing, and I play just about every instrument known. I also speak every language of every person I've ever met. Anything else? I didn't know you sang, Midas said. I do, beautifully. Sing something. No! It just seems weird that you and I were linked by telepathy every day and you didn't tell me you were so artsy. Well, I am. My mother is a painter and a sculptor. My father is a writer and pretty good with the guitar. Really? Midas, why don't you go next? Darkspeed said. I think most of you know my story. My parents are near misses, and I got my powers a few weeks ago. Everything else I pretty much learned here, Midas said. What is your real name? She said. Oh, my real name is Joseph Pringle. My parents and my little brother Alex live in Grand Blanc, Michigan. Dad's an architect, Mom stays home. That's it. I'll go next, said Olympian. My name is Jonas Alexandros Forakis, and I'm Greek, from the island of Crete. My father is the local protector of the island. Everyone in my family is super. I'm the 5th born of 8 children. My older brother Achilles is the leader of the team in Athens. I have another older brother who's learning the trade from my father. What about your mother and sisters? Bioforce asked. My mother is a saint, and my sisters are planning on big families. The 3 girls in the room rolled their eyes when he said this. Darkspeed laughed and turned his head to the side. My parents had 8 children. 2 working or 2 superhero parents don't have 8 kids. Tell me I'm wrong. The 3 girls were now strangely quiet, each of them being an only child. Everyone in your family is super like you? Midas asked. Well, not as powerful as me, but all super, Olympian answered. I'll go next, said Bioforce. My real name is Joanna Albrecht. My parents are both doctors, a medical doctor and a zoologist. I'm from Berlin, and I've been studying medicine and animals since I can remember. You know my grandmother is the dean here. I know she was in the war somehow, but I don't know what her handle was. My parents never had anything to do with the HU. And I think this room is ugly. I agree, it's horrible, said Virtuoso. Yes, worse than ugly or horrible, she said. All right, that's been established. She, why don't you go next? Darkspeed said. My handle is she. That means 4. I'm a 4th generation superhero. My line goes back to the old samurai. My real name is Jin Noguchi. Everyone calls me Jet. My father is Shogun, the leader of the Tokyo team. My mother is the lead scientist that built the Bishamon Sentinels. What does Bishamon mean? Darkspeed asked. Japanese god of war, protection, and justice. He's always depicted in full armor. Good name, Olympian added. Bioforce looked at him quickly. What? Well, sometimes it's hard to come up with a good name. That one sounds perfect for giant armored robots. I mean, I tried to think of a good Greek god to use, but they've either been overused or killed a lot of people for enjoyment. I had to promise not to pick my own name, Midas added. What? Bioforce said again, as if no one could just be to the point. Hey, over here, it's still my turn, she said. Anyway, I don't have any brothers or sisters. I grew up at the HU Hall, seeing everything that goes on there. I was trained in martial arts by my father. He's really good. My mother trained me as a tech. My stealth training was done by my father's stealth, Curfew. Her Japanese was terrible, but her skills were second to none. The whole Japan team was trained by Connors. My father speaks very highly of him. When did all this training start? Bioforce asked. Before I can remember, it's just how I was raised. She looked at the others who were quiet. Any questions? Are you going to pick a new name or stick with 4? Midas asked. Someday I might, if my father ever lets the name Shogun go. A girl Shogun? Olympian asked. Yeah, you got a problem with me being a girl? No, it's just I've been reading about heroes forever, and the 3 Shoguns were always men.